Yo, yo, yo. Hey guys, welcome back to another awesome edition of the Best Practices Show. Do you have challenges talking about insurance? Do you have challenges getting your team aligned on insurance? Do you have insurance frustrations? Are you wondering, what should I do? Well, today we're going to help you. We're going to help you with 3 tips to conquer insurance frustrations as a team with an amazing coach. Her name is Robyn Theisen. So please listen up. I hope you guys enjoy this, and we'll see you soon. Hey guys, welcome back to the Best Practices Show podcast. Do you have challenges with insurance? Are they called frustrations? Do they make you crazy? Well, today we're going to put you into a Zen state. We're going to call it Dental Zen. 3 tips to conquer insurance frustrations with an amazing coach, Robyn Theisen. Robyn, thank you so much for being back. I really appreciate you.
Oh, it's always fun to be here. Happy to do it.
Yeah. What you don't know is that Robyn and the rest of the coaches that I get the privilege of working with are brilliant. And this is stuff that we deal with all day long, right?
Yes. Insurance.
Insurance. I'm going to try to stay as positive as possible today. Yeah, awesome. Well, let's start here. I always want to start with the why. So why is this so important, Robyn?
Well, insurance does cause us frustration in the teams, and it can be also very time consuming. So having alignment, systems, knowledge around insurance and what we can do, what we can't do, what in network versus out of network, all of those things. So having alignment around those is really important for, whether you're contracted or not, having that alignment is really important.
Yeah, for sure.
Go ahead.
Can I just piggyback on that? The alignment piece is huge because we've talked about this week quite a bit. A lot of you, if you're a dentist listening, you're very well educated on this. You hear from your friends, you go to a course, you hear it when you go to great continuing education. And you got all of these thoughts swimming around your head, and you assume that by saying it once, everyone understands you completely. And so this is really important that you're aligned with the rest of your team, right?
Absolutely. I mean, having a strategy around it in managing the frustration is important in the practice in so many different ways. The overall practice health, understanding those things and having a strategy, the patient satisfaction for what we know and how we address patients when they come in, the operational efficiency. There is a lot of time and energy that is put into managing insurance and benefits. And so having a strategy around that is really important. And as with everything, this is also a team game. So having that team development and the confidence is really important to manage the frustration for your patients and for the team as a whole. So having that team alignment is a really important part of this.
Yeah. But Robyn, I have no time. Like, I'm working with patients every day. When am I going to do this? I'm sure you hear all this, right?
Yeah. And I mean, it is in your team meeting, that would be the perfect time to align on this, right? And create the time for your team, because what we having, it isn't just the business admin team that needs to understand insurance. It's your dental hygienist, it's your assistants, it's the dentist that needs to understand it. In order for us to have a seamless transition for the patients, for us to all answer questions correctly, and to really build that trust with patients, it's important that we all are on the same page with it.
Totally. I totally agree. So you've got 3 really great tips. Take us through the first one.
Okay. So the first one would be to identify and discuss what is your relationship with insurance? So, like I was alluding to, we make an assumption that it's an admin team. The admin team needs to know it inside and out, which is true. There's also an element to the assistants and the hygienists really understanding it as well. So are we in network? Are we out of network? What does that even mean? so we can answer questions with patients and be able to understand how to effectively communicate that and communicate it correctly to the patients for them to understand what their benefits are. So having that alignment and really being able to define those things for your team is really important.
Yeah. And I would say this too, a big part of it, well, there's two pieces. I guess I could go off on this one for a while, is people don't really define this very well nowadays.
Great.
And I joke because I talk to dentists every week and they go, I'm fee for service, but I have one PPO. And I'm like, that's not what I would consider fee for service. In network and out of network, that even needs to be more defined in a dental office. And I know that we're not going to be able to get into all those details, but then also the why, because this comes up a lot. So if you're a dentist listening to this, you're thinking, okay, well, I want to get rid of Dentamax and BCBS and all these other things. And so you've been telling your team that, and I guarantee you have one or two team members that are like, well, my mom is on that. I have a family member on that. Like, what is this all about money? And what you have to do is go slow enough with your team to help them understand the bigger picture, because if you don't, they're going to think this is all about money, and you can't have that happen. You need them ultimately to lean into these conversations and strongly support the position of the practice. And that's why this has got to be done right. And it also, you know, a big piece of this, I'm throwing a lot at you, is that the insurance relationship your practice has with your patients really has to be very well understood by everyone, even a new team member for the most part coming in the first 2 months, right?
Absolutely. And, you know, there isn't a right or wrong. Being in network or out of network is not a right or wrong. It's based totally on practices, right? So each practice has a different reason for having that different relationship. So it is about identifying and understanding the why behind it. Why did we decide to stay with this one and we're not with this one? And when you say not with this one, patients can still come to see you. So the out of network piece and understanding that what that means for patients, that there are out of network benefits. It doesn't mean people can't come. It means the relationship's different. So, and there are many reasons to stay with some and not with others, or to be fee for service. And so there's a lot to that. And with the team to really understand outside of the money piece, there's dynamics that really are impacting what decisions you make around that.
Yeah, I want to go back to what you just said, because it's so important, is that your team members, I mean, and granted, my heart goes out to team members because they haven't really been trained or developed in this area. And so if you don't participate, what a lot of team members, I'd say north of 95% of team members in the United States that work for a dental practice say, we don't participate with that insurance, which screams no. And so you have to be clear to let people know you can still come here. Absolutely. They ultimately have to be able to say yes, but then you have to be able to navigate around that and ask really good questions. So I love what you're saying, and it's absolutely true. So what's tip number 2?
So tip number 2 is what we were just talking about, aligning on communication. How do we communicate what our relationship is to patients? What are the words that we use? That is such an important piece to this, and can really make or break that relationship with the patient. The communication, the consistency of it, the messaging throughout. We don't want to have surprises, and it's, you know, all these insurance communications are tied to money, which is really an emotional part to the practice and for patients. So being aligning on how we speak about it and how we answer questions throughout the team is a really important part to the trust that we have with patients and the relationships that we build with them.
Yeah. And the words are really important. You know, verbal skills matter. Sometimes dentists can't even say this correctly, much less be able to teach a team how to say things. Any suggestions on that?
Well, so a couple of them. So one of the words that instead of out of network, I will often use independent provider. So we're an independent provider. And, you know, some of the questions that I get from team members will be like, well, I don't want to mislead the patient. And really what I'm trying to do there is, when patients hear out of network, and team members, I believe that most of them think that they cannot use their benefits there. So by using independent, really what I'm asking patients to do is listen to what's next. I want to change the verbiage so that they hear me differently and that they're open to what I have to say next.
Yeah.
The other big thing, and I know we've talked about this before, is that I really encourage teams to eliminate but, however, and unfortunately from their language and replace it with and. And I hear so often in practices, unfortunately, we're out of network with that insurance company. And what does that tell a patient right away? That tells a patient right away that is a negative. Anything that follows but, however, and unfortunately is a negative. So if you replace it with and, you speak it differently, the patient hears it differently, and the conversation ultimately goes differently.
Robyn, that is gold.
Yes.
And that's a lifetime practice if you're listening to this. But unfortunately, I mean, you really have to be intentional with
You
your
do.
words.
Yes. So so to put that all together, I would say to a patient, we're an independent provider for that. And let me share with you what that means for you. Instead of, unfortunately, we're an out of network provider, but you can still use your benefits here. That sentence sounds totally different than the first one, and patients are going to hear you differently.
Totally. I would totally go to the first practice and avoid the second practice.
Right. Yes. Yes.
And so like some of you might be thinking, well, easy for you to say. Now, here's what's really cool. The more consistent you do it once, you're like, wow, that worked. And you do it again. The repetition creates what's called consistency. And this consistency builds trust. It builds a lot of confidence too, first with your team, and then you can convey that to patients. It leads to better everything, better satisfaction, better flow, better dentistry ultimately. As you lean into this. So you don't have to get this right all in one day. Sometimes you just got to try with one patient at a time. I've been saying this a lot. You know, you build a great practice, one patient at a time. That's it, not 50. So
Yes.
I hope that helps.
And we have that the say this, not that document that is really helpful in these situations. So the team can really align on it. Back to your point is team members need to understand the why behind what your decision is about your relationship with the different insurance companies. And that why is where the confidence comes from. And patients hear the confidence in the words that you use. So aligning on the why and then using that say this, not that document to align on what the words that you use could be really a great team meeting or a great way to make sure that we're all on the same page.
Absolutely. And if you want a copy, it's the biggest download we've ever done, which is say this, not that. It's all the tough things that you get asked as a dental team. And we put together some of our favorite responses. We also left a column for you to put in your own responses based on your team's communication, philosophy. So you can always add your own piece. If you want a copy of it, you can email Gina@actdental.com, Gina@actdental. We want you to have it. Use it in your team. You'll find, wow, this is some good verbal skills stuff. I love it. Yeah. So, Robyn, what's tip number 3?
So tip number 3 is to utilize technology to your advantage. And I think of this in a couple of ways. The business team I know spends a tremendous amount of time between verifying benefits, sending out insurance claims, following up on claims that weren't paid, all of those different things. So where you can utilize the technology to save yourself time and be more accurate with patients is a really important step. So when you think, our practice management softwares, there are some great tools within those fee schedules, coverage books. So deciding between those two, how you're going to store your fees so you can give accurate information to your patients. Another step from that is how are you attaching x-rays and perio charting and those kinds of things and sending out your claims. And I find that there are services that are outside of your practice management software that are more cost effective in a lot of ways and sometimes they are better, more user friendly than your practice management could be. So it's worth looking into what that looks like and what services they offer. I find that insurance verification is becoming more and more user-friendly and more companies are getting on board with it. So there's a lot more information at your fingertips in terms of a verification. And I think I talk with business team members all the time and the amount of time that they are spending. Like I just cannot underestimate how much time they are spending and how really looking into technology could be a huge time saver and efficiency for your practice.
Yeah, some people are still calling in to do all of this.
Yes.
And you're tying up the phone lines, sometimes on hold for more than 12 to 15 minutes and even longer. Yeah. So not a real good use of our time.
No, and there is an alignment piece around that too, and verification is how many times are you verifying? What information are you verifying? Do you use all of it? If you're spending 10 or 15 minutes to get information, and then the patient's coming in again to see their hygienist and you're re-verifying, what information are you looking for? So understanding the why behind that and whittling down to what you're really wanting to find out from insurance companies could also save a big amount of time.
Yeah. What about outsourcing? Everybody says, well, I'm just going to get this out of my office. What do you think about that?
I can see where there are benefits to that. I would say I would do my best to keep it in-house for a couple of reasons. When you look at outsourcing, the cost that's associated with it, there's some great things that come from it. I don't know that it's not a negative towards the outsourcing. It's more so they don't have the skin in the game to manage your AR in the past due claims like your team does, and when they have a relationship with the patient. So I like to keep it in-house. I think the AR and the claims processing piece is such a huge part of the practice. I want to have more of my thumb on that to know exactly what's happening and making sure that it is be done efficiently. Patients are getting communicated with, those kinds of things. So there's definitely a place for it. If you can keep it in-house, that is always my first recommendation.
Yeah, because that data teaches you so much on a regular basis. And there's so much opportunity in that data, right?
Yes, absolutely. And if I'm getting a claim kicked back from an insurance company over and over and over again, and I'm not seeing what that is, what are the commonalities in that? Is there something I need to change in my process on the front end so that I don't have that on the back end? And when a patient calls in with a bill and I have done nothing to handle either the insurance claim or posting it, I don't have a ton of information to be able to answer the questions that they have. So from a customer service perspective and a financial health of the practice, my first choice would be to keep it in-house.
Yeah. And ultimately, you want to build a relationship-based practice, 100%. Helping people navigate through, around, and with this. So that's a huge piece of it. So.
Right. And there are definitely places that there are offices that find tremendous success in using outsourcing. So there is a time and a place for that as well.
I love it. I love it. This can just be overwhelming. And what we're hoping by giving you this information, these 3 tips in the podcast, you can just get started. And again, you don't have to be perfect with this. If you're a dentist listening to this, I'm going to tell you, you should share this podcast with a team member who handles all of that. There's so little training and development on these aspects in dentistry. And we joke, but it's not a joke. You don't really onboard team members. You just waterboard them and let them figure it out for themselves. And that's not fair either. And then you get frustrated that they're not doing it right. Well, they weren't onboarded. So here's a great process that you can follow that Robyn's given us. So Robyn, give us some final takeaways.
Align with your team. Spend the time in a meeting to really have your team understand the why. It's really important, and it's gonna show in the way that they communicate with your patients. And it's an important topic. The second thing final thought would be remove the word insurance. You and I've said insurance many, many times today. And I believe that substituting with benefits is a better way to have that language with patients. It really is not insurance. It's more of a benefit plan. So using that would be another verbal skills tip that I would put in there when you're speaking to patients. And ultimately, we want to make sure that our patient is the main focus, not their insurance. The insurance is a benefit. So we want to maximize the benefits and do everything that we can to make dentistry affordable to them. Ultimately, it's about the patient and what's most important to them.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and that's a great reminder. There's no elements of it that are insurance at all. Like I really feel like there was a dental insurance executive. He's giggling somewhere in a room right now going, I can't believe they went for that. We called it dental insurance and they followed us. It has nothing to do with insurance. And so you can't fix that. But as a team, as a dental team, you can start to change how you communicate. And so I love that, moving it away from insurance to benefits. And then also, I just want to piggyback on what you just said. 30 years of doing this, I've seen some of our best offices move away from the word insurance or even benefits and focus on the patient. And slowly and carefully, by osmosis or whatever, the practice ultimately becomes less insurance dependent because you started becoming less insurance focused or benefits focused. Look at that. I'm going to have to correct my language already.
Right.
So,
What we focus on expands. So the more
yes,
that we speak about insurance or benefits, the more a patient believes that that's what the focus is.
absolutely. Absolutely.
Words matter.
Yeah. Robyn, this is so awesome. Thank you so much for being on. I always appreciate you.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. And again, our goal with this podcast is to bring you bite-sized information, a few tips every time you're listening to create a better practice and a better life. So I hope we're doing that. We're going to keep bringing it too with Robyn and our other amazing coaches on all things that you're dealing with on a regular basis. We want you to enjoy going to work. So if you enjoyed today, do us a favor, hit the share button, share this with your friends. If you want any of those downloads, reach out to us. We want to help give you as much support as possible. And until we see you guys next time, or you hear from us next time, keep watching or keep listening to the Best Practices Show. You guys enjoy your day.